All right, folks, so hopefully everyone had a good lunch and you're ready for new knowledges. And before we start our topic, I have a couple questions for the audience just to help me understand a little bit better where we are. So first question, how many of you have ever heard about Adobe App Builder? Raise your hand. All right, it seems like the number is rising from the last year. And how many of you use it in your projects? Okay, and how many of you use it for your extensibility? It's a few, still good. So it means that a lot of you are gonna have something new today, and we are gonna talk about Extension Manager in the AEM Sites, which uses the UI extensibility, and tell you a little bit what it's gonna give to you and for your day-to-day work. So my name is Iryna. I'm working with the web technologies for almost 10 years, last three of them with AEM specifically. Right now, my focus on the generative AI in the Adobe Success Studio, but previously we are working with Amy on the team who enable UI extensibility for AEM Sites, and word to Amy to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm currently on the Extensibility team under Felix. And I've been working on Extension Manager for the past year and a half or so.
Okay, so what you're going to learn today? So first of all, which challenges might be solved with your extensibility and why do you need them at all? The second one, it's about overview of Extension Manager, its feature, a little bit history, what we are trying to solve, what problem we've seen in our customers, and how we were able to resolve them. And the last but not least, about the current UI extension ecosystem and available tools you can use to utilize them. So let's start from the real customer problem. Our previous topic was mainly about how you can start building your new websites or how to do this multi-deployment. But here, with UI extensibility, we are going to talk a little bit about problem of other persona, about person who builds their content, about marketer. And UI extensibility mainly focused, like our first customers was the headless customers when we need to make some personalization for marketers because every business might work a little bit different and they might have the different request about what they want their authors to use, which integrations they want to build for their authors, which limitation, and how we can develop this. And previously, I believe, as AEM developers, you can see the problem, if you want to deliver some new feature to AEM admin, like add new buttons, maybe bring some integration with third-party services, it will require to do redeployment of the whole application, so you will have this like long cycle of new releases or delivering the new feature, or even if you request this feature from Adobe, you also need to wait for a while. So when we start working on this, we think how we can bring not only some features, but also speed up in the development. Yeah, gonna go back. So on the previous, gonna go to the previous slide, yeah. So one more left, yeah. So as you can see here, we have rich text editor on the headless, and we have this like table buttons. And what if you want to limit the number of buttons available for your customer with rich text editor? And here, when you can use UI extensibility, so you can like hide it, and it's gonna be done without any redeployment required. Like you can bring this feature to control plugins of rich text editor without no need to integrate new code inside the AEM itself. So let's go to the next slide. So how you can do this? It's possible, like we start thinking about this authoring service maybe a little bit as distributed system, and we provide ability to run some micro application within iframe on the AEM as a cloud service within Experience Cloud UI, and we provide like ability for developers control and deploy this micro application in their defined spots within UI. So which technologies we are using? We are using Adobe App Builder, and under the hood, it uses Node application and React to deliver and build your single-page application. But all this code might be stored within Adobe using App Builder framework, which provides you a set of tooling to build, deploy, like support over time. You have access for the login of your application. You can troubleshoot. You can see how it's going to work with data. So from the host application, in our example, it's Adobe, it's Universal Editor, it's Admin Console, and Content Fragment Editor. We provide extension points. It's like specified places on UI when you can load your UI, and also set of data you can exchange between them. Yeah, and word for Amy to deep dive into how it was done.
All right. Thank you, Iryna, for that introduction. OK, so customers come to AEM with a lot of requests to add features to the core code base. But not all of them can be fulfilled because they're either too specific to the customer, or if the features are approved, it can take months for them to be released to production. So therefore, Adobe decided to add out-of-process extensibility to AEM as a cloud service. And in conjunction with App Builder, customers and partners can now build custom features and deploy them quickly. So the current extensible services in AEM as a cloud service are Universal Editor, Content Fragment Admin Console, and Content Fragment Editor, which are our AEM headless offerings. We're also working on adding extensibility to even more services, such as AEM assets. Each of these services have a predefined areas that can be extended with UI extensions, as Iryna said in the background she gave. And how it works is that each of these services have an iframe in each of these areas, and the service makes a call to Adobe App Registry for a list of the App Builder applications in your current IMS org, and then it'll filter that list for the service's extension point, and then load the URL of each of those extensions into that iframe. So for example, although it's really hard to see, so each of these services has a header menu at the top. So if you look at the screenshot for CF Editor, that's going to be the line where that big blue publish button is. So there's an iframe, and a UI extension could tell this service that it wants to add a custom button to that header menu. So for the last part of the background information for this topic, this is the product development lifecycle of a UI extension. So the first step is to code it. Adobe has several templates available that you can bootstrap with to get started. All UI extensions use the UIX SDK package, which is our UI extensibility toolkit for Experience Cloud apps. And through this UIX SDK, the UI extension can establish a connection to the host application. So then the next step is to supply configuration files. And these configuration files will specify what service the extension extends. And then if you have a .env file, this is also where you can specify what environment variables need to be passed as inputs. When the extension is fully tested and ready, you can deploy it to App Builder with the Adobe I/O CLI. So when extensibility was first rolled out, extensible services would filter App Registry for published extensions. So that means that it was necessary to submit the app for approval to your AEM org's system admins, which is going to be the next step in the process. So then once the system admin approved it, the published extension would become available for use in the IMS org. So that's going to be important for the next slide. So App Builder operates on an IMS org level, which means that only the IMS org is stored as context in Adobe App Registry. Since many of our AEM customers are large multinational corporations, so for one tenant, one IMS org, a lot of them will have multiple programs in AEM for all their different subsidiaries or all their different companies. So in this example, with the icons, so let's say we have a large automobile manufacturer, and they have different companies that manufacture personal vehicles, buses, and tractors. And so, let's say one of their partners has created an integration for their tractor company. And so they have a UI extension that's deployed to their IMS org. However, the employees of the consumer vehicle program can also see the extension when they use, the extensible service. And that's because the extensible service can only filter by the IMS org when calling Adobe App Registry. So all programs environments will be able to load the published extension. So, for obvious reasons, that's not really ideal because customers want to be able to wall off extensions in their different programs. So, in addition, App Builder has no awareness of AEM environments. So it's not possible to set different values for different AEM environments without redeploying. This slide shows what a customer would have to do if they wanted to use a different API host, for example, in their stage environment. So assuming their extension was deployed with the initial value for the dev environment, well, they'd have to update this API host variable in the .env file and then redeploy it. So then what happens is that the extension in the development environment would also call the new API host. So again, for obvious reasons, this workaround is extremely impractical. And so this is where we get into the two biggest requests to the AEM Extensibility team. So number one, our customers requested finer-grained management of extensions on the environment and program level of AEM. And then number two, they wanted seamless and instant configuration of extensions on the environment level without needing to redeploy the extension. And so this is where we get into Extension Manager, which is the main topic of this presentation. So Extension Manager is a new management console for UI extensions. All of our extensible services have been updated to call the Extension Manager API to get the program and environment level scopes that App Registry is unable to store. So with Extension Manager, you can enable and disable extensions per environment, and you can set configurations per environment as well. Furthermore, Extension Manager is a way for us to instantly distribute Adobe developed extensions so that you, the user and developer, can instantly access them, no installation necessary. And finally, we have bring your own extension. So with bring your own extension, you can deploy your extension outside of App Builder and simply supply a URL to be able to use it in our extensible services. Okay, so this is a screenshot of Extension Manager. The left-hand sidebar is where you can select the services, the program, and environment that you want to configure. So when you select an environment, a list of the available extensions will appear. And at the top of the list are going to be the Adobe extensions, which will have the Adobe icon and a label developed by Adobe. So these are things we can instantly release to everyone. And then below the first-party extensions are going to be the App Builder extensions. So Extension Manager will also show the draft and the pending extensions, which means that you no longer strictly need to publish extensions in order to be able to use them. And the reason why we included these is because Extension Manager also has a preview feature that lets you try extensions. And so we wanted this to be available for non-published extensions as well. And then at the very bottom is going to be the Bring Your Own Extension. And Iryna will show you this in the live demo later. So in the toggle column is going to be a switch where you can enable and disable the extension. So when you enable an extension, that just means that it's going to be automatically loaded by the extensible service. No need to supply query parameters, et cetera. And then in the actions column is where you're going to be able to configure the extension, and it's going to be the gear icon. So when you click configure the extension, a modal dialog will appear, and this is where you can add your configuration variables. And again, these are going to be environment specific. So you can set different sets of configuration variables for your different environments. And the other side of the configuration is going to be the extension code. So I mentioned the UIX SDK package earlier. So the extension can automatically load the Extension Manager configuration with the UIX SDK package. So using the attach method, it can create a guest connection object, and the configuration variables are going to be available as a map in guest connection.configuration. So if we look at the comparable configuration extension manager, you can see that the extension can access, say, API URL with guest connection.configuration.API URL, and then it can show it in the body as well. So this is how extensions can access the extension configuration from Extension Manager without needing any redeployment. Right, so I'm now going to hand things off to Iryna. Who's going to show you a live demo.
Thank you, Amy, for guide us through main feature and tell a little bit low level how your extensibility works. So on the live demo, so folks, if you have access to AEM as a cloud service and want to try to work with me to check the extension manager feature, please scan this QR code to have the URL for extension, and also there is a configuration we're going to use. So yeah, give you a couple seconds to do this if you want to do this. And we will go to IAM. So first of all, how can you find Extension Manager? So you can go to experienceadobe.com, and by navigating to Experience Manager, you will see the tile with Extension Manager feature. And by launching it, the next step under the Services tab, you will see the list of available services for now. It's something what you can try experiment with. So as Amy mentioned, it's Universal Editor. And also for IAM as a cloud service, it's going to be CF Editor and Admin Console. Also, for IAM as a cloud services, you can access for the extension on environment level. And let's look on the dashboard where you can find information about list of available extensions, so the extension which was deployed to Adobe Developer Console using App Builder, which use UI extensibility extension points. Also, you can see that we already have 10 extensions developed by Adobe. You can try it out for instance. And also, in this my program, it already registered like 6 bring your own extensions. Another interesting part, we built with developers in mind. We know that we have documentation, you can go read, you can check some code examples, but it's really cool when you can see something just in the first click. As a use case, I mentioned in the beginning about ability to remove some of the buttons from the rich text editor toolbar. Let's look how, for example, it's gonna be look like adding the new button. So I'm gonna preview this extension by clicking try, and I'm gonna to preview into my IAM Cloud instance. So this feature, it's available within CF Editor. So I need to go and open some content fragment, which has a rich text editor on it in the content fragment model. And here, this is extension which you can preview from the extension manager. And you see when I click it, it's going to be add new text. Alrighty. And let's look on the dashboard a little bit further. So here you can see the list of available extensions developed by Adobe. It also helps us be able to deliver a new feature and validate with people so they can try it out on their instances and get them feedback. So we have some try, we have docs when you can check a little bit more about some specific extensions. So let's look on this generate variation extension. So you can find here some information, user guide, but also easy access from the extension manager. And the last one is a feature. I want us to try it out together. So bring your own extension. So if you want to try with me, you can put here the URL you've seen on the slides before. You can add any extension name, what you like, also description. There is something what will be visible for your customers, for content authors. So use your best judgment, what's going to be meaningful for them. Also, be required to add support email because it might be a case when different developers can go and register their extension, and it's important to find out whom to contact in case of their something doesn't working and you want to ask some question. And the last, but it's important to specify the supported service. For the extension you've seen before, it's going to be IAM Cloud Fragment Editor. I just did some registration beforehand, just to have everything set up. But let's go to the stage and find this extension. So you will see this extension going to be added on the bottom of the list. And by default, it's going to be disabled. So right now, there is anything going to be applied. So let's go and add the configuration. So you need to provide the buttons you wanted to remove from the rich text editor. And also model path, you need to provide path to the model, which has a rich text editor data type. And for example, here I have two content fragments, and I can, the path gonna be everything like this. Oh, sorry. If I will go and I'm gonna be able to find path. It's gonna be this one value. So you can if you have existing content fragment, you can use it. And let's go to Extension Manager. And first of all, I have this configuration already set. And I set it for configurable rich text editor. So let's go and see how it looks like right now for one of my recipes. I know that our demo is going to be after lunch, so hopefully you're not hungry. And you see all buttons is available, nothing was changed. So let's go to Extension Manager and enable this feature. Alrighty. And let's go and refresh page. Yeah, you can see the button was disabled, but it was only for one content fragment. If you will go back to the list, you see this one use another content fragment model, and nothing was changed for them. So yeah, that's it for demo. If you have any, if you try it and something doesn't work for you, let me know. We can look into this together. And let's go back to our presentation. OK, so what can you expect next? The next one, already we have 3 services supported, but we are working hard with the rest of the team to add more services within Extension Manager and UI Extensibility to allow people build their extension. Also, we are working to improve our user interface to make it more human readable, and maybe if you have any suggestion, feel free to share with us, because really working hard to refine our backlog. And the last but not least, right now we have scoping for our extension per environment and per organization, but we also can see requests that people want to be able, one more level of scoping, be able to see some extension only per one user, or maybe some criteria, some conditions. So it's also something one on top of our mind. And the last one, as we said on the beginning of the session, we are going to talk to you about a little bit about ecosystem which is available. And right now, with App Builder extension, there is a possibility to monetize them through Adobe Exchange or Adobe Commerce Marketplace. So think about this as a marketplace of plugin in Chrome or maybe App Store. So you can publish your extension and allow the users to do deployment. So right now, all what you can see in the Extension Manager is technically deployed, but with Adobe Exchange, you can provide ability to user do deployment in the couple of clicks through the Adobe Exchange, and also you have ability to sell your extensions as well. Righty, and if you wanna just a couple of takeaways, so we were talking about challenges can be solved with Adobe Experience Manager. Also, you have overview of all features, and also you learn how you can utilize it. If you want to learn more, check this link. So you can read documentation about your extensibility. You can check library of open source extension codes, and also you can check about Extension Manager. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us with this email. I think that's it.
Ladies, I brought questions. First of all, is it possible to enable, disable extension not just by environment, more like according to user and permission groups?
I believe
we are working on that.
there's one of the next steps we have on our slides.
If we customize the UI services, will the customization affected be by future product updates, or does it stay for a long-time solution?
So we are working with their team on the contract. So think about this like extension point as an API contract. It's working pretty the same. So we expect to have backward compatibility with the new releases to have your extension work as it was before.
Yeah, so the interface stays the same. So no, it's not going to be affected by future product updates. But we have had problems when the NPM package gets updated. So we're always working to troubleshoot.
Excellent. Currently, the app builder allowed to deploy UI and functions by OpenWhisk. Will the app builder include Adobe managed databases in the future to allow other backend as a service features like Firebase or AWS Amplify?
I don't know. That's a question for the app builder team.
Yeah, but if this is a question in the context of UI extensibility, they bring your own extension. So technically, it allows you to deploy on any backend. The only things you need to use our libraries. So we have a couple libraries you can read in the documentation, your extensibility, and you can like deploy it on AWS, for example, if it helps.
The new CF UI is not available during local development with AEM as a cloud service SDK. Is there any plans to make it work locally as well?
So when it comes to working locally, so the AEM CF editor and admin have a query parameter called ext. So if you have an extension on App Builder, you can run it locally using the AIO CLI command, AIO app run, and then it'll run it on localhost. And so then you can take that localhost URL and then put it as a query parameter, and then that will load the extension. So it's local development in a way.
Is it a question about local development for CF editor or local development for extensions?
Get the CF editor it was.
Yeah, about the CF editor, I believe we are not the best people to answer it, but we have plenty of folks who might be answering it on the round table.
Excellent. Big applause for Amy and Iryna.